Hey everybody, this is Brian with Bear Cards 34. Today I'm coming at you with a video that I've been planning to make for many months now, and I finally am getting around to doing the first of this installment. So I don't do TTMs these days, but I do love watching TTM videos. Hoss of Cards, Ed from Angry Old Man, and a bunch of other really great channels that do TTMs. And it made me think back to when I was a kid. I used to write letters to the players, and I have this book full of all the stuff that was returned to me over the years. And so I thought I would kind of show what I was able to get back from players back in the day. Now, this was me writing to players who were current active players in the NFL, and this would predate, for the most part, the autographs that you can find as hits in packs of cards these days. Back then, it really wasn't done, except for, with a little bit with Pro Line portraits and a couple other packs, but it was very rare. So really, if you wanted to get autographs, you had to either meet them in person or you could write letters. And that's what I would do. I would write lots and lots of letters. And so I'm going to go ahead and kind of go through this. So this right here, and it is really banged up because I referenced it quite a bit as a kid. This is the December 1989 original first issue of Beckett Football Card Magazine with Bo Jackson on the cover. So what I wanted to show here is one of the pieces in this was 2-minute warning for autograph seekers, and it gave tips and strategies, to writing to your favorite players. They said, with the regular season winding down and the playoffs about to heat up, autograph seekers must act quickly to catch their favorites through the mail. Requesting an autograph through a team's front office not only has the best results, but is also the most convenient way to go. While baseball fans usually can get to within an arm's length of their favorite stars at Major League Baseball parks, football fans are lucky to be within shouting distance. Since there's no batting practice sessions hours before the games or focus points like dugouts where players gather, going through the mail for football autographs is a logical alternative. And it mentions in here strategies like, send a self-addressed stamped envelope, keep the letter concise and to the point, and if you want to get a card signed, understand that you may not get it back. So they gave a list of, at the time, all 28 NFL teams, and you can see here for me back in the day, as a little kid, well, as 11, 12 years old, I would have been, these are probably teams that I had already done at the time, and then, kept working on that. And so the way that we would do this, my brother, who's 2 years younger than I, the two of us would get rosters of the football teams, and then we would write letters to as many people as we wanted. Some teams I would write to everyone. Other teams I would write to just a few. And we would then, each of us would have a large manila envelope that we could put all the individual letters into and then mail the whole thing to the team. And it was really fun because we'd come home from school and some days we wouldn't get anything, but other days we'd get 3 or 4 things a day. I mean, it was like Christmas for us. It was a lot of fun. And, these were active current players, and just the fact that they would take time to respond to us, to write back, some of them writing letters, it was a really fun time. So first off, I had written to a handful of Chicago Bears players before that Beckett ever had come out. And these were just individual letters that I wrote to a handful of my favorite Bears players. And one of those was Dan Hampton. And he was the very first player to ever send me anything back. And he actually wrote me a handwritten letter. And so some of you may have seen my video where I showed this once before. But I thought it was awesome that he would take the time to write to me. Dear Brian, many thanks for your nice letter. I appreciate all your compliments. Good luck with football. I was playing Little League at that time. Best wishes, Dan Hampton. So I was already a fan, but even more so after that. And, Dan Hampton is one of those players who's just been amazing. First team all decade for the 1980s, Super Bowl champion. Like I said, Pro Football Hall of Famer. And they did a top 100 of the Bears all time, and he came in at number 11. And for people who know football, his statistics may not have been up there with some of the others, but the way he would disrupt games and just what he was able to do really impacted the game. And so those who really understand the game know just how great he really was. So that was a lot of fun to get that letter back. Now, another autograph that I got back through the mail at that time was from Mattsui. He was the Bears fullback for about a decade. He was drafted in the second round back in 1980, and he and Walter Payton became best friends. In fact, when Walter was ill, Mattsui was there quite often to help out with Walter and with the family. They were just great friends, had a great relationship, and even after Walter passed, Mattsui became the executor of the Payton estate. Another interesting thing was that Matt's dad, Steve Suey, also played professional football. This is his card for the Pittsburgh Steelers. This was a Leaf card from 1948. This is one of my oldest cards, actually. And I did buy it, yes, because it's Matt Suey's dad. Anyway, I will say this. Steve Suey was a pretty good player in his own right, and he's a member of the College Football Hall of Fame. So football definitely runs in the Suey family. Another one that I was lucky enough to get back at that time was this one from Mike Singletary, one of my all-time favorite players. He was a very smart football player, very intense football player. His eyes just popped when he was playing. It was fun to watch. And he sent me this black and white autographed photo. And I've always been really appreciative of having that in my collection for sure. Now, another one I want to show is this James Lofton. James Lofton, despite being a Packer for half his career, is one of my all-time favorite wide receivers. I also love his autograph here. He kind of makes a star in it and everything else. It's a pretty sweet auto. And so this card right here I sent to him. It's his 84 Topps card, and he mailed that back. And one thing I wanted to show you guys, because I did follow Beckett's advice of keeping things pretty short and concise, this is the letter that I wrote to him originally, and it was on an index card. And so here you'll see, Dear James Lofton, hi, my name is Brian, and I just turned 15. I have been a very, very, very big fan of yours. You have made your mark on the Packers, Raiders, and now Bills. You are the best receiver in NFL history. Congratulations on your great season. Would you please sign the card I put in the envelope? It would mean a lot to me. Thanks. And so what was pretty cool about this is he also signed the back of that card as well. So I was able to get a couple of autographs from him, and he put right there, Bills 1991. And so you'll see this is a couple years after. So when I do this series, they won't be all chronological. They'll just be kind of how I have them in my book. But this was a great one. James Lofton truly is one of the best receivers of all time. He was the 6th pick back in 1978. This is his rookie card right here. He played 9 years with the Packers and was, a great receiver there. And then went on to the Raiders, the Bills, Rams, and Eagles. He's an 8-time Pro Bowl player. He was also the first player ever with 14,000 yards. And he's a member of the 80s All-Decade team. And then also part of the Hall of Fame and part of the Packers Hall of Fame as well. Just a great player all around. Another player I was really excited to get a TTM from was Richmond Webb of the Miami Dolphins. He was a great lineman through the 90s. 7-time Pro Bowler. In fact, I think it was 7 straight Pro Bowls. A member of the 90s All-Decade team. Did a lot of good work with Dan Marino. He had over 100 consecutive starts and, like I said, 7 straight Pro Bowls starting out that career. Just a really great player. Unfortunately, injuries slowed him down near the end of his career. He still seems like, potentially a Hall of Famer there. He's in the Dolphins honor roll. And he did finish out his career a couple years with the Bengals, but really he's known as just being an all-pro, a Pro Bowler for the Dolphins in the 90s. Really like his autograph, the full autograph. Nowadays we get a lot of, it'd be like an R- or an RW. I love, when the players take the time to really sign their name and give you a legit signature. So really happy to have these. Another player to write me back was Pat Leahy, the kicker for the New York Jets. He played for a really long time. In fact, in college, he was not a kicker in college. He played at St. Louis University, and he was a 3-time soccer All-American. And then in 1973, he did a tryout as a free agent with the St. Louis Cardinals. He didn't make the team, but a year later in 74, he was signed by the Jets when their kicker was injured, and he ended up making the team. And not only did he make the team in 1974, but he stayed and continued to play until 1991. He had over 1,400 points, set the record for the longest field goal in Jets history. And when he retired, was the third leading scorer in the history of the NFL. He's 24th all-time now. The game has really changed since then. But it just shows how successful he was. And pretty cool, for someone who wasn't even a kicker in college to go on to play in 3 different decades. Very, very cool. And along with this card, so he signed this one, but he also sent this in as well. So this is another one of those, where I sent in a card, so he signed it, but I also got this autographed picture, which he personalized to me right there. To Brian, a great Jets fan. I have a confession to make. I might tell every player that the team they play for was my favorite team, when in reality, that was my favorite team. But hey, I was a fan of his because of this. Okay, so for the last one that I'm going to show today, this is Hall of Famer Tim Brown, one of my favorite players to watch. When he came out into the NFL in 1988, he was the most exciting kick returner that I had ever seen. The only one that I would say that surpassed that for me to see would maybe be Devin Hester. And I know before that it would have been Gale Sayers, but that was before my time. But man, watching him return kickoffs and punt returns was fantastic, and he was electrifying. And then he got injured in his second season and missed most of the year. When he came back, he primarily developed into a wide receiver, and of course then became one of the greats of all time. And I don't know if I sent him these cards or if he sent them back, but I got a handful of autographs from him. I love the ink on these. I think it looks really, really sharp on that action-packed card especially. And my very favorite, just because he's in his Notre Dame uniform, love Notre Dame, that one right there. And so again, sharp autograph, beautiful cards. It really comes out well on those. And Tim Brown, he won the Heisman Trophy at Notre Dame back in '87. He's a Hall of Fame football player. He played with the Raiders and a little bit at the end of his career with the Buccaneers, but he played all the way from '88 to 2003, made 9 Pro Bowls, 90s All-Decade team, 15,000 yards, well over 1,000 catches. He was just a dominating wide receiver. So really happy to have those cards as well. And like I said, all of these were autographs of players who were currently playing at the time. And these would have been from anywhere from 1988 to, the majority of them 1989. In fact, the majority of them would have been 1990 to about 93, I would say. Maybe a little bit in 94, but that's kind of the age range we're talking about there. So for any of you guys who do TTMs these days, I'd be curious. Do you know if any of these guys still do autos through the mail? Have any of you guys had success with them? And any experiences you guys had growing up with TTM or now, currently? I'll include the links to a couple of the really good TTM'ers out there in case you guys are interested in checking those out. And hopefully you guys enjoyed this. I'll be doing more of these from time to time. This is, episode number 1. And I'll do some more later on. Hope you guys enjoy. If you do, feel free to like and subscribe. And I'll be back with more videos in the future. Thanks so much, everybody, and take care.